book I'm trying to pitch to everyone is called Kings of the Wyld by Nicholas Eames. Nicholas Eames is a Canadian author, so that's already a check mark as to why you should pick it. It is a fantasy type book, or as my wife would say, a dragon book. The reason I like it is it's definitely in the fantasy realm, but Nicholas Eames also has come out after and said, here are the different rock songs that I was listening to as I was writing different chapters. So you can actually get a Spotify playlist to listen to this song in this during this chapter. So that's kind of a fun extra element of it. So it's set on a fictional island where there are humans and monsters, and this group of humans essentially fights and hunts down monsters. So it's a fun read. It's a quick read. There is a second one, so it kind of goes together with the second book. I'm going to actually read the first paragraph or so, chapter 1, because I think it hooks you right away. Here we go. You'd have guessed from the size of his shadow that Clay Cooper, which is a great character name, that Clay Cooper was a bigger man than he was. He was certainly bigger than most, with broad shoulders and a chest like an iron-strapped keg. His hands were so large that most mugs looked like teacups when he held them, and the jaw beneath his shaggy brown beard was wide and sharp as a shovel blade. But his shadow, drawn out by the setting sun, skulked behind him like a dogged reminder of the man he used to be. Great and dark and more than a little monstrous. Finished for the day, Clay slogged down the beaten track that passed for a thoroughfare in Cloverdale, sharing smiles and nods with those hustling home before dark. He wore a watchman's green tabard over a shabby leather jerkin and a weathered sword in a rough old scabbard on his hip. His shield, chipped and scored and scratched through the years by axes and arrows and raking claws, was slung across his back, and his helmet, well, Clay had lost the one the sergeant had given him last week, just as he'd misplaced the one given to him the month before and every few months since the day he signed on to the watch, almost 10 years ago now. And that's where I'm going to stop.
Junie, are you going to do this the whole time?
Hey guys, the book that I'm going to talk about for March Madness is Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Junie might help. Hey, Junie, you going to come say hi? I think she's going to help, maybe. So this book actually starts off when two characters named Sadie and Sam run into each other in college after quite a few years after not seeing each other. After rekindling their friendship in college, they go on to create a blockbuster video game together, which is just one part of the story. So don't get me twisted here. It's not just because I'm a computer science teacher and it's about building video games. It's actually about a lot more. This story actually spans 3 decades, and it looks at the ups and downs of friendship and a friendship that lasts that long. So as you can guess, of course, yes, is this a love story? To some extent, it is, but not the way you think. So it's more about escape, second chances, creativity, sexism, grief, loss, and the complexity of human relationships. So I'll give you a little preview of the book to give you a little bit of background. This part takes place when Sadie isn't answering Sam's texts. Sam ends up showing up at Sadie's apartment several times to try and talk to her about the game that she's built. He's tested out this game and wants to talk to her about it, but she's not actually getting out of bed. So I'll tell you, or I'll read you a little bit of this story. Except for the day he worked his shift at Lamont Library, he went to see her every afternoon for the next week. He would leave her a small offering, per Marx's suggestion, and then he would stay a while before heading back to his apartment. On the 12th day, she asked him, "Did you steal Emily Blaster?" "I borrowed it," Sam said. "You can have it," she said. "I've got other copies." On the 13th day, he sat at her desk. It had been many years since he had drawn a maze, but he had decided to make her a new one. He'd become a better draftsman in the years since he'd drawn that last one, and he wanted her to have a sample of his most recent work. The new maze would show the route from Sam's apartment by the Charles River to Sadie's apartment by the Necco factory. Sadie got up from the bed and she looked over Sam's shoulder at his drawing. "It took a long time for you to get here, didn't it?" "The average amount of time," he said. I might be out tomorrow, she said. If I start going to my classes and doing the work this week, the dean says I can still salvage the semester. Sam stood, carefully slipping the maze and his drawing pencils into his backpack. Are you saying you don't want me to come and see you anymore? Sadie laughed. It had been a long time since Sam heard Sadie laugh genuinely. Many things had changed about her, but he was pleased to discover that her basic laugh was untouched, aside from the inevitable slight change of key. She had, he thought, one of the world's greatest laughs. The kind of laugh where a person didn't feel that he was being laughed at. The kind of laugh that was an invitation. I cordially invite you to join in this matter that I find amusing. No, you idiot. I want to schedule a time for us to see each other. I didn't want you to show up and not find me here. Promise me we won't ever do this again, Sadie said. Promise me, no matter what happens, no matter what dumb thing we supposedly perpetrate on each other, we won't ever go 6 years without talking to each other. Promise me you'll always forgive me, and I promise I'll always forgive you. These, of course, are the kinds of vows young people feel comfortable making when they have no idea what life has in store for them. Sadie offered Sam her hand to shake. Sadie's voice was strong, but Sam thought her eyes looked vulnerable and tired. He took her hand, which was freezing and sweaty at the time. Whatever her sickness had been, Sam could tell it had not entirely passed. You kept my maze, he said. I did. Now, let's hear what you thought of Solution, Sadie said. She stood up and opened the window of her room. The fresh air that came in was so crisp and cool, it almost felt like a drug. Go easy on me, Sammy. You may have noticed that I've been a little depressed.
What do you think, Junie?
It's gonna win, right?